Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of pewterreport.com. It is a Pewter post-game show and the last Pewter post-game show of this season as the Bucs are done. They lost 23-20 at home against the Washington Commanders in a back-and-forth game where some crucial mistakes in the fourth quarter added on top of some bad defensive play, did the Bucs in, and they are going home for the rest of this playoff. So we got a lot to break down about this current game, about the future of the Buccaneers, and we'll get to everybody's comments as well. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me live from Raymond James Stadium is SR Scott Reynolds. And Scott, it's kind of what we've seen all season long, right? The Bucs beat the Bucs. The defense couldn't get out of their own way, couldn't make a splash play when it was needed.
Yeah.
And that's why the Bucs are going home.
Yeah, this team just could not get off the field with over 4 minutes left. They had to get a stop, a takeaway, force a punt, something that Tampa Bay's defense did not do the entire game. The Commanders didn't punt. They went for it 5 times on fourth down, and they converted 3 of those, one of which was a touchdown to Terry McLaurin, which proved to be the dagger for the Buccaneers. And that was over Josh Hayes. When Jamel Dean went down, I turned to my Pewter Report colleagues in the press box, and I just said, Terry McLaurin's going to score on Josh Hayes. It's only a matter of time. And, of course, that happened. And then on that key 3rd and 6, De'Ami Brown had a big completion on Josh Hayes. And as Todd Bowles said, Hayes fought hard, and he was trying to make some apologies for his player, but in the end of the day, Jamel Dean got hurt again and was unable to finish this game. Yeah, we saw that coming, right? And we'll talk more about Jamel Dean in the offseason, but I would not be surprised at all if he has the same fate that Carlton Davis did. Doesn't make plays, can't count on him in terms of being healthy, and the injuries reared up again for Jamel Dean and put the Buccaneers in a precarious situation. We talked about it in the pregame show, Matt. We like this defense better when it has Jamel Dean and Antoine Winfield Jr. rather than Kayvon Merriweather and Josh Hayes, and that ended up proving to be a big injury. Todd Bowles said it was a big injury after the game. And it was a shame because Tampa Bay had multiple chances to win this game. There was a play that Kalijah Kancey had a chance to make on fourth down and just could not get Jaden Daniels down. And it was unfortunate to go out that way, but the Buccaneers defense allowed 3 of 5 on fourth down. That's 60% conversion, and 8 of 15 on third down. That's a 53.3% conversion percentage, and just not enough plays made by this defense. We'll talk about the offense too, because there were plenty of opportunities for the Bucs offense to make some plays. This was not a one-sided loss. This was a total team collapse. We talked with the center, Graham Barton, at the end of the game. He had a costly snap where he snapped it too soon, not on the cadence. The offensive line wasn't ready. The Commanders saw the ball move, and that was a key play that forced the Buccaneers really to kick a field goal and not have the opportunity to get the go-ahead touchdown there. That proved to be costly as well.
Yeah, both sides are to blame for sure. If I was going to dole out the percentage-wise of blame, I would go 60-40 still. The defense just not being able to get a stop. Yeah. No punts in the game for Washington, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt about it. The 2 big plays in the fourth quarter, the fumble on the end around to Jalen McMillan that immediately gave the Commanders the ball back. And then, the botched snap situation with Graham Barton was big as well because Bucky Irving got knocked back 3 or 4 yards. I think that immediately, at least in Todd Bowles' mind, took them out of going for it on fourth down. Because at the time, I'm thinking, okay, like if they get stuffed on a QB sneak or whatever, just run it again. Like it's kind of tough to stop a QB sneak 2 times in a row. But the fact that it was a couple of yards back, really made a difference there. And for the Bucs defense, not that I was expecting an interception, But like Elijah Cansey, you mentioned, it's just one of those weird things, and it goes back to the age-old argument that we've kind of had with Josh Capo before about pressures versus actually getting sacks, because there were 2 times in that game where Elijah Cansey, who overall I thought played really, really well, but you just mentioned the big play at the end when the Bucs need to get that stop to call their last timeout, and he missed him there.
Right.
There was also a play early in the game. I believe it was on when the Commanders went 92 yards down the field to take the lead.
It was
7-3.
It was right by the end zone. Yeah.
Yeah, he had Jaden Daniels right in the end zone. That it could have been a safety. It could have at least been a stop. But he kind of like stumbled as the lineman pushed him to the side. And if Elijah Cansey could have kept his footing, he gets the stop there. Again, maybe it's a safety, but if anything, it forces the Commanders to punt and at least gives the Bucs field position. So, you kind of knew the Bucs were dead to rights when you had at one point Tyreek Funderburk and Josh Hayes in the game. Deion Jones dropped an interception, and I know they got the stop on 4th down anyway, but if he makes the interception, it was in the end zone, so you're getting the ball to the 20, the 25 instead of down there as well. So who knows if that changes with, the plays to Bucky Irving. And then because the defense wasn't able to get off the field, I think it took a while for the Bucs offense to truly find that rhythm. Like they had an early 3 and out. They had a bad penalty. And again, the offense is not off the hook. Like you can't have that fumble. Right. You can't have that mistake. Maybe you go for it on 4th down, but I don't hate the idea of kicking the field goal to tie it there. But the offense kind of had to be perfect because you knew that the Commanders were going to control the time of possession. I mean, they had the ball for 11, 12 minutes more than the Bucs did. So, Baker made one bad mistake. I thought he was pretty good outside of that, besides one time he wanted to scramble and got tackled right at the line of scrimmage. It's just frustrating because once again, the Bucs got it their own way. They couldn't get saved by the doink off the field goal at the end of it. And, now there's a lot of questions going into this offseason.
There is. And, I think they're going to have to look at Todd Bowles, right? The questionable clock management again. This defense has not been able to get takeaways all year long. They did not get another one tonight. They lost the turnover battle 1-0. Tampa Bay's offense had 7 possessions, 7 the entire game, because the Commanders ran 69 plays to the Buccaneers 44. Now, again, that's both sides of the coin, right? The Buccaneers offense not doing enough to sustain drives at times, although they did convert 5 of 9 on 3rd down. That's pretty good, 55.6%. That's not bad. But to only have 7 possessions in this game speaks to the defense's inability to get off the field on 3rd down. Again, 8 of 15 on 3rd down were the Commanders, 53.3%. And then credit Dan Quinn for just being aggressive and just saying, screw it, we're not going to punt. we're not going to kick field goals. We're just going to go for it. They were 3 of 5 on 4th down, right? And they outgained Tampa Bay 350 yards to 284. And it was just a shame that they could not stop the Commanders enough times. I think Levante David had a great game. Really played like the Levante of old. I thought he was the best player on the field on Tampa Bay's defense. I thought Yaya Diaby also had a really solid game as well. Elijah Cansey, again, with those pressures, and this is why I always say sacks are better than pressures, because when you've got an athlete like Jaden Daniels, and that's exactly what he is. He's a tremendous athlete. Todd Bowles gave him his props after the game. There were a couple of times where they were able to bottle him up, but it just wasn't enough to really make a difference in this game. The scrambling ability, the ability to just wiggle out of pressure and make plays. Terry McLaurin stepped up tonight for the Commanders. And really, Matt, it kind of overshadowed what was a really good performance from Mike Evans, and he really took it to Marshawn Lattimore in this game. I really felt like he won most of those battles tonight. Certainly got the touchdown, which was a great throw and a great catch by the combination of Mayfield and Evans. It just kind of was all for naught because just not enough possessions for this offense to make things happen. Too many penalties. And credit the Commanders for getting the one takeaway in this game. And we talked about it in the Pewter pregame show. Both of these teams struggle to get takeaways. The Buccaneers kind of gave one away on a bobbled exchange on a jet sweep between Jalen McMillan and Baker Mayfield. The Commanders got the ball, and they got the win.
They did, and the Commanders don't turn the ball over much either. Like, yes, their defense doesn't, but, Jane Daniels does not throw many interceptions, where the Bucs, we have seen on offense, they do turn the ball over a fair amount. That's definitely, they're a little too loosey-goosey with it for sure. And the lack of possessions for the Bucs offense, again, you have to be perfect. And while they weren't in the first half, I can't totally get on their case either. Like the opening drive field goal, for example, Jalen McMillan had a very costly drop. It was a throw right to him, hit him in the hands, and he just missed it. So that kind of squandered that drive. Their second drive, they got around to midfield and they had to punt. Good job by the Commanders getting the stop. And then you had a bunch of penalties that forced the Bucs to go 3 and out on the next one. And then they scored the touchdown at the end of the half to tie it up at 10-10 before the final drive. Then they went on to score on every single drive in the second half, except for when they had the fumble with Jalen McMillan. So both teams, or both sides for the Bucs on offense and defense, just going hand in hand with, just making mistakes at the wrong time. Like, I don't hate the pressure that the Bucs had, but just like we've seen all season long, it's just a second too late. Jamel Dean, a step behind Terry McLaurin on that deep ball early in the game. Zion, a second behind. Even at the end, when the Bucs needed to get those stops and they had the timeouts, Yaya Diaby was like standing right next to Austin Eckler and just could not get the hand on the football from the pass to Eckler from Jaden Daniels. And that was pretty much all she wrote right there. It's just, and I think what hurts too is the Bucs were so good at stopping the run, at least over the last 2 months. And you get to those situations where you need to stop the run. You kind of know they're going to run the football. And the Commanders ripped off an 8-yard run on first down. And that pretty much was the difference. I know Kalijah Cansey could have made the play at the end. And unfortunately, just could not.
Yeah, and the thing, too, is, Matt, when you look at Yaya Diaby, we kind of talked about this in the last game, right, with dropping Anthony Nelson and Yaya Diaby on coverage on 3rd and 9 and allowing his name escapes me, the tight end for the Saints, to catch the pass. Foster Moreau.
Juwan Johnson?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Foster Moreau, right. On 3rd and 9. Like, you're dropping 2 of your best pass rushers and expecting him to cover, and it was a fruitless play. Same thing there. It's like you've got Austin Eckler, who's one of the best pass-catching backs out of the backfield, one of the best third down backs, and you're assigning Yaya Diaby, your best pass rusher, to cover him. Yeah. I just think Todd Bowles gets so too cute at times with these zone blitzes. I don't know. I mean, Anthony Nelson, I guess, did make a play tonight. His first play of the year in pass coverage. Those opportunities are so few and far between when you have your outside linebackers tasked with dropping into coverage. That's not what they do for a living. Yeah. They're supposed to rush the passer. Yaya Diaby is an edge setter, not a coverage guy. So again, some of these familiar complaints that we've had, the game management calls, the inability to get off the field. I mean, this reminded me an awful lot with 4 minutes left. I just had shades of the 49ers game. And that was a 23-20 game as well. The last time the Buccaneers scored 20 points was in that game. And you just watched the 49ers just march right down the field and kick the field goal. And I just thought, that's what's going to happen here unless this team can somehow get a takeaway. And they can't. So I don't know. If Todd Bowles comes back next year, they're going to have to, the Glaziers, Jason Light, they're going to have to insist that he retool his defensive staff. The lack of takeaways is stunning this year. Todd Bowles even said that this is a very uncharacteristic year. They need some fresh voices. They need some new voices in those defensive meeting rooms to serve as a wake-up call to challenge these guys to be better, because it was not good enough this year on the defensive side.
One thing that will stick with me too, and this has to do with the Bucs offense, not really the Bucs defense, but the first down play before Graham Barton snapped the ball too quickly on 3rd and inches. Bucky Irving had a great run, and the Bucs started finding that rhythm with running the football. You saw it when Bucky Irving scored the touchdown on the prior drive, which killed me a little bit because Vita Vea went out for a pass on the play before and thought maybe Vita Vea was going to get the football. But Bucky gets a 9-yard run, but he's right at the yard marker. And I don't know what type of move he was trying to make, but he kind of just stopped in his tracks and then got tackled versus keeping the feet moving. And I think he would have got tackled forward for a first down, which wouldn't have put the Bucs in that second down situation where Baker had the keeper. And I just wonder if Bucky was able to get the first down there, how much more the Bucs are able to keep the clock moving. And then if you score a touchdown, you have the lead, and then you're forcing Jane Daniels to score a touchdown. Or the Commanders get the ball back with less time than 4:41. You still have to drive all the way down the field. So I'm not blaming Bucky. I'm sure it was probably a little bit different with how he was trying to, make a defender miss. But that play will stick with me because he had a 9-yard run on first down, and you end up having to settle for 3. I think that one's going to hurt for a while this offseason too.
I agree. Not a good game offensively. The execution, the play calling, it just wasn't good enough. JB asks, is there a chance Liam was distracted with the head coaching rumors? No, I don't think so. He hasn't even interviewed for the Jacksonville Jaguars job yet. I mean, he's those interviews will take place this week. We'll see what happens. I would love to sit there and say I know what Todd Bowles' future is, whether he's going to be back or whether he's going to get fired. I don't know. I don't know how the Glazers and Jason Light are going to take this. Matt, we've talked about it for a while now, and we have a lot of super chats to get to. Don't feel like we're ignoring you. We just want to get a couple of these comments out here first, and we're going to go right to the super chats. You guys have been absolutely fantastic all year. It sucks this is the last post-game last post-game podcast because we've really enjoyed hearing from you, answering your questions, giving you our insight from the Bucs locker room and all of that. But I don't know. To me, and we've talked about this before, Matt, 10 wins. They had 10 wins last year, although that 10th win came in the wild card home playoff win over the Eagles. And then they lost in the divisional round. This year, they won the NFC South like they had the last 2 years. They got an extra win in the regular season. They got to 10 wins again. Yeah. But it happened in the regular season. And now they lost a home playoff game as they did in Todd Bowles' first year to the Cowboys. How did the Glazers view this season? Is this truly a season of progress? They didn't go backwards, right? I mean, 10 wins is 10 wins. You can say they went backwards in the fact that they didn't advance in the playoffs, that they can get the divisional round. I don't know how they square this season. I don't know that they're going to necessarily make a snap decision. I might have to think about it and see, is Todd Bowles the right guy to lead this team to the next round of the playoffs, to the Super Bowl? Yeah, I don't know that that's the case. But let's get to some of these super chats, man. I'm sorry. Go ahead and comment on that. We'll get some super chats.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is definitely something that the Glazers have to take a couple of days to truly think about. But at the same time, if you do make that move, you have to do it somewhat quickly because it's not guaranteed Liam Cohen is going to be the head coach. I mean, I'm sure if you talk to Liam and say, hey, if we let go of Todd Bowles, we want you to be the head coach, he'll probably say, sure, I'd like to. But it's something that needs a lot of consideration because there are some good things about Todd Bowles as well. And I know people like to harp on the on the negative. But then also, I don't know how people feel because the Bucs went 10-7. But if this was a 16-game season, do you look at that as more of the Bucs went 10-6, or did they go 9-7? Because if you chop off that last game, they pretty much went 9-7. But also they got that 10th win against the Saints, and they would have played the Saints twice and earlier. So I don't necessarily know, but it's all things to consider and progress, but not the exact progress that you're looking for. So we'll talk about this, tomorrow and the rest of the offseason until a decision has been made. So let's get to these super chats. Starting off with Virgin Boys with the 1999 super chat. Thank you very much. As they say, Bowles defense didn't force one punt tonight, which hurt the offense in the first half to get in a rhythm. Dean is so soft. It's a playoff game, and you can't go back in, restructure your contract, or leave. I can't with him.
I think this franchise is fed up with them, to be honest. Just reading the tea leaves, knowing what I know, this is going to be a Carlton Davis situation. I'm not even sure they can trade him. I don't know how much value he has because he does have a big salary. I think they were very fortunate that they found the taker in Detroit for Carlton Davis, and they got a third round. That was a fleecing. But here's the thing: you might have to go cornerback in the first round, Matt, because I just don't think this team has any confidence in Jamel Dean.
Yeah, because you pretty much have Zion. I mean, Funderburk's an undrafted free agent, and he really only got in because
Josh Hayes is a special teamer. He's a gunner. That's it. Like, he's not a cornerback in the NFL. He's a gunner, and he's fine. He's that Ryan Smith guy, right? He's that fifth cornerback on your depth chart, ideally. And you got number 1 in Zion, and you really need 2, 3, and 4, right?
Right.
You don't know if Bryce Hall's going to be back or not. He broke his leg in the season opener. Who knows? They might just pass and go in a different direction. But I think you need another veteran. You got to draft another impact player. And maybe if there's no takers for Dean, you keep him, and he's your third string cornerback. Maybe if he plays less, he won't get hurt more. I don't know, but
that is true. The less time on the field will probably preserve him a little more. And that's another tough thing too, is because remember, going into the season, Bryce Hall was going to be the next corner up if something happened to Dean or Zion McCollum, and he got injured almost right away, which really, kind of set them back. I'm curious if he played tonight, if that would have changed anything. But moving on, Cali Bucs, thanks for the $4.99 super chat. Evans tying all other receivers combined for yards can't happen. More reason to go down with your best player. 7 targets isn't enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, he got 7 targets, but Jalen McMillan only had 4. Cade Otton had 2. Rashad White had 2. Bucky Irving had 2. I mean, they just didn't have the ball. Baker Mayfield only completed
18
passes. Yeah, he was 15 of 18. They didn't have the ball. They literally had 44 plays. There have been times where Tampa Bay has just about had 44 plays in a half. Today was the entire game.
And again, that second half, they went touchdown, the fumble, field goal, and that field goal, again, was the whole snafu when it was 3rd and inches. So they were moving the ball really well, and Mike was involved when they were moving the football, but they didn't have an issue. They made 2 silly mistakes, and that's why they weren't scoring. I don't think it had to do with not getting Mike involved. There was other games this year where Mike wasn't involved as much, and that might be why they lost, but that wasn't the case tonight, in my opinion. But appreciate the super chat, and we definitely respect the comment and the thought. Virgin Boys with the $1.99 super chat says, thank you, Pewter Report, for what you guys have done this year. Thank you so much for the support. It's been great chatting with everybody on the game day streams. And while the game day streams will be done because the Bucs aren't playing, we still have Pewter Report podcast all year long. Not 24/7, 365, but all year long for a week, plus the Pewter Insider. So there's tons of Bucs content here on our YouTube channel that we would love for you guys to join us with. And it doesn't change that the Bucs aren't playing. It's just the topic of conversation changes a little bit.
Yeah, Matt, in 2 weeks, we're going to be in Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl. This team has drafted a crap ton of Senior Bowl players. You like Keith Smith last year, one of those guys. So nobody covers the Bucs offseason like Pewter Report. Our free agency coverage, our draft coverage, our coverage of coaching, comings and goings on the staff is bar none. So we certainly invite you to stick around as this team tries to level up in the offseason. I do believe they're going to do a couple of things. They're going to re-sign Chris Godwin. I believe they're going to go out and get a big-time pass rusher, probably in free agency. And they're going to I think, ramp up in 2025. And I think you're going to see the Glazers open the checkbook. We'll see who's in charge of this organization from the sidelines. Yeah. We know Jason Light will be in charge of it from the general manager perch. But it's going to be a wild offseason in Tampa. Maybe not the big free agency angst last year. Is Mike going to be back? Is Levante going to be back? Is Baker going to be back? Those kind of things.
Right.
There'll be some questions about Levante and his future. He was a little cryptic about it. I mean, he's at that stage where he's doing 1-year deals, right? Like with Rondé Barber, back in the day, would do 1-year deals to see how he felt, see how the team felt, and all of that. So But Levante went out with a bang tonight. I thought Levante had
He did.
really, really good game. He got hurt right at the end, which was a little unfortunate to see, but went out with the lone sack of the game and led the team in tackles.
Chased down
So
Jaden Daniels.
He did. And that saved the touchdown too, because if Daniels would have turned the corner, he was gone for a touchdown. So hats off to Levante. Great game tonight.
Yeah, he had great hustle and performance. And, tonight sucks with the Bucs losing and the way that they lost and all of that stuff. But I also think the Bucs are in a really good spot because their offense is very high flying and they have to make changes on the defense. But if they're able to make those adjustments and bring in new personnel and things like that, I think they're going to be in a really, really good spot. So keep your head up, Bucs fans. Tonight's going to be tough, but the window is very much open for Tampa Bay, regardless of who's head coach.
Yeah.
Trustin Vorbeck, thanks for the $4.99 super chat. Says, "Good night, Bulls. Congrats, Liam. Soft zone defense lost us the games as well as missed offensive opportunities. Man, this sucks." Yeah, it goes hand in hand. That's why the defense isn't fully to blame. I still blame the defense a little bit more than the offense, but the offense could have put the dagger into this game if they were able to find points on the fumble with McMillan, but specifically 3rd and inches fumbling the snap. To me, that's probably the biggest moment in the game.
At some point in time, you've got to be able to hold a team under 20 and win, right? At some point in time, you got to be able to do that. And they've done that a couple times down the stretch here against bad teams. I'm talking about good teams. I'm talking about holding good teams to 17 points and winning games 20-17. Like, you got to be able to do that. And this defense simply cannot do that. Against lesser teams, the Raiders, 13 points, right?
Yeah.
The Panthers, 17 points. They've been able to do that a little bit. The Saints scored 19 points last week. But we're talking about in the playoffs, do you have a playoff caliber defense that can do the job and get the takeaways and, finish teams off on the defensive side? And that's not the case here in Tampa Bay, not right now under Todd Bowles, not with this unit. They've got to make some changes, whether it is on the coaching staff, getting, guys that can really take the ball away. Obviously, Antoine Winfield Jr. was not himself this year by any stretch of the imagination. That hurt this team. He missed 8 games in the regular season. It's not all on him, though. There were plenty of able bodies that simply could not take the ball away. And that was unfortunate tonight. And this team lost because of one turnover and also because they couldn't get that one turnover on defense, right? Yeah. That was the thing. They had to play complementary football. Baker gives it away. The defense is obligated to get the ball back at some point, and they simply couldn't do it all night long. And it's really been that way all season. They just have not had the takeaways anywhere close to acceptable.
Another great example is just look at the other playoff games this weekend. Houston won. They only allowed 12 points. The Ravens only allowed 14. Buffalo allowed 7. And the Eagles, right before this, they only allowed 10 to the Green Bay Packers. And I get it. The Bucs offense wasn't the high-powered juggernaut it's been all season long. They only scored 20. But, really since week 2, outside of that, there hasn't been a big time where the Bucs defense really stepped up and helped win a game against a good opponent. So definitely feels like a squandered opportunity. Todd G with the $1.99 super chat, thank you very much, says, is Bryce Hall still under contract next year? No, I believe it was a 1-year contract, so he is a free agent. Bucs Basement, thanks for this $10 super chat. Says, your defensive head coach couldn't get the Commanders to punt even once. Every time the Commanders went for it on 4th, that was them giving the middle finger to Bowles. Firing Bowles is what needs to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that needs to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did. Let's put it that way. I like if the Glaziers and Jason Light want to go in a different direction and fire Todd Bowles, and you might say, well, how in the world could they do that? This guy has made the playoffs 3 straight times and all this. I mean, Tony Dungy was fired after 3 straight playoff games in 99, 2000, 2001. They felt like they needed to go in a different direction. And granted, that last year with Dungy, it was a 9-win team. It was 9-7, not 10-7. But to your point, Matt, there's an extra game now. So they beat the Saints in that last game. Okay, great. But how do you square it? That's the thing.
One thing that is needed, especially if you want to stay up this late, is a Celsius energy drink, which, of course, is the official energy drink of pewterreport.com. We love Celsius and all of their flavors that they have, whether it's the Arctic Vibe, the Playa, Pina Colada, new flavor, or a sparkling watermelon lemonade like you see on the screen there. All great flavors. If you need to know where to find a Celsius energy drink, head on over to the Celsius store locator on their website. Punch in your address. I'll tell you the closest place where you can pick one up. Could be Walmart, a Publix, a Stop and Shop, or your bodega.
Bodega.
And after you keep going to your bodega and you know you love Celsius and you want more, you can buy it in bulk over on Amazon with the subscribe and save. I'd recommend that variety pack because they have so many fantastic flavors. You can have it sent to your place of residence at your leisure whenever you want. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks, the official energy drink of pewterreport.com. You all have been fantastic with these super chats, so we will keep it rolling. I believe we are up with Bucs Basement again. This time a $5 super chat. Thank you, Bucs Basement. Who says, if we lose Cohen and keep Bowles, I know what's going to happen next season. Offense regresses. Defense doesn't improve. Bowles is fired.
It could happen. I'll be writing about it later tonight for tomorrow morning. My thoughts on this and my insight. And I don't know which way the team is going to go. If they fired Bowles, would not be surprised. If they kept him, I wouldn't be surprised. He does have some fans in the organization in ownership. I will say this. There's not one owner here in Tampa. There are 4 co-chair people that have ownership authority, if you will. Brian Glazier, Joel Glazier, Darcy Glazier-Kasowitz, and Ed Glazier. Those are the 4 primary owners. There are a couple of other owners as well in the Glazier family, but those are the 4 primary decision makers. And for something like this, you needed a consensus, Matt. You can't just sit there and you can't have a hung jury. You've got to have unanimous decision. And so that's why, to your point, it may take the Glaziers a minute to get Jason Light's input as well and see, is this team heading in the right direction? If Todd Bowles is coming back, what needs to happen on his coaching staff to make you feel like this team can make the next step? I will say this, the youth and the new voices that were brought in on the offensive side, the receivers leveled up, the tight ends leveled up, the offensive line leveled up. Even Skip Pete, who was a holdover, the running back room leveled up. Liam Cohen leveled up as a play caller over Dave Canales. So much leveling up on the offensive side of the ball. We saw regression by and large on the defensive side of the ball. That's not the direction you want to be in if you're the defensive-minded head coach and the play caller, Todd Bowles.
I wonder what happens if that vote is tied 2-2. Like, how do they get a tiebreaker? Do they flip a coin and, whoever it lands on wins?
Yeah.
And, I would love to be a fly on the wall for, like, what is Todd Bowles and his game plan? Like, if he's talking to the Glazers or Jason Light, like, what is he saying? Like, okay, I need this for next season. We're going to do this differently, like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What is his game plan for next season to, make this defense improve? Because it's clear going into the 2025 season, like, the offense, in my opinion, could literally stay the same, and they just say, hey, we're going to re-sign Chris Godwin, and I'd be fine with that. Like, yes, they could use another younger wide receiver for depth and things of that nature. I get it. But going into next season, it's all about, how does this defense get better? Because this offense can hang with everyone. I don't care that they only scored 20 today. If this defense can level up, then we're talking about a legitimate team that, could be competing with the Lions for the first round bye.
Yes.
So I'm curious what Bowles' plans are for that. Obviously, he's not going to make that a public discussion. But, man, I would really love to know.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this, Matt, is I want to say they had Tony Dungy give the day after the season end press conference, and then they fired him, which was very unusual. And that was back in the day. And then John Gruden wasn't fired, I want to say 17 days into the offseason. He and Bruce Allen were let go. That's when the team made the radical change to go with Raheem Morris as the head coach. Raheem was supposed to be John Gruden's defensive coordinator. He was going to replace Monty Kiffin. That was the plan. And Gruden had his post day after a press conference as well. And so I've seen it all here in Tampa. I've seen coaches not even have that. I remember Greg Schiano had his
at a hotel, right?
Post-firing press conference, yes, at a hotel where he addressed the media, not as a Buccaneer employee anymore and not at one Buccaneer place. So I've seen it all. So I'm prepared for anything at this point in time. But stay tuned to pewterreport.com. Stay tuned to Pewter Report TV. We'll have instant reaction to any news that breaks on Pewter Report TV in video format. And, of course, your reminder tomorrow to join us for our 4 o'clock podcast. We'll be having podcasts now in the offseason, 4 o'clock's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, plus a Pewter Insider podcast for our premium subscribers. And that is going to be on Fridays, probably at 1:30, but we might tinker with that time a little bit now that we have some time to work with now that the offseason is here.
All right, let's keep it moving on. Dante Campana, thank you for the $10 super chat. Says, as soon as we went for the tie, example, playing not to lose, instead of going for the win, we knew it was over. Cakewalk all the way into our territory. This team needs courage at the helm. That's
really difficult.
Kicking the field goal there because the way that they got moved back, if you get stopped, then you're at least saying like, okay, well, now we may never get the ball back and we're just going to lose right now versus like you force the Commanders to move the ball down the field. You force the kicker to make the kick. And by the way, he almost missed it. I think you have to tie the game up there. Now, again, the Lions, they're going for it. There is the other side of it of if you get that first down, you run so much more of the clock and maybe you don't give the ball back to Washington. But I really don't mind the move. I get it. Everybody loves the analytics of like, well, it says to go for it. But people don't. People look at analytics, they don't factor in like, okay, that's not a guarantee that you're going to get it.
Right.
And what happens if you don't get it? Like everyone, all these snooty analytics nerds forget about that side of it.
Exactly.
And like they're besides themselves when something doesn't work. So.
No, you're exactly right, man. And it says go for it, right? It even says like go for it on the screen. Okay, what happens if you don't get it? Right? Just because you go for it doesn't mean you're going to get it. So what would have happened if the Bucs go for it? Let's say it's an incomplete pass. Well, the exact same thing happened, right? The Buccaneers are down 3 at this point in time, right? The game isn't tied up. They're down 3 and just about the same position that the Commanders had the ball on the opening kick. I'm not on the opening kickoff, on the last kickoff of the game, right? So they're essentially starting at the same field position. Now they have a 3-point lead, and we saw them run the clock out all the way down to kick the field goal. They probably just run the clock out, and this game ends 20-17, Matt. So I don't think going for it would have changed anything other than if the Buccaneers actually would have got it, then maybe that drive continues. Maybe it stalls, and they end up kicking the field goal again. I don't know. I mean, we can play this game all night long, but at the end of the day, the game is tied. The defense's responsibility that is charged with is to get a stop, force a punt, get a takeaway. The Buccaneer defense could not do that for over 4 minutes, and they lost the game.
Even if the Commanders got into field goal range, but say like you got a third down stop and they're kicking a field goal with a minute left, I'd still be okay with that, just given how bad the defense has been all season long, because you still give Baker and the offense a minute to go down the field and try to tie it up or, even take the lead. One last thing I want to clarify, too, is if it wasn't for Bucky losing a yard or two on the Graham Barton botched snap, if it was just like they didn't get it and it was 4th and inches, I'd be fine going for it. But it was the extra 2 yards that they lost that, to me, made a big difference. Bucs Basement, thank you for the $5 super chat, who says, friendly reminder, Todd Bowles' only playoff win came against an Eagles team that had lost 9 straight games. Bowles is not it, and the Glazers need to see it.
Well, they didn't lose 9 straight games, but I'm looking at the schedule now that they ended up losing 1, 2, 3, 4. They lost 5 of their last 6 and then lost that playoff game. Certainly, the Eagles were like this year's version of the Pittsburgh Steelers, 0 momentum at the end of the season heading into the playoffs. We saw that in Baltimore yesterday. So, I agree. The Commanders, the arrow was pointing up. The Eagles, the arrow was pointing down. This was a close game that one turnover had a large say-so in the outcome. And Dan Quinn's stubborn refusal to kick field goals, it just about cost him, but he went for it and got a key touchdown when Terry McLaurin was matched up against Josh Hayes. And to me, that was the turning point of the game when Jamel Dean went out and Josh Hayes went in. Did not have a good feeling about this for the Bucs defense.
No, it was kind of written. The writing was on the wall when that happened. Yeah. And I mean, we saw the Saints attack it. You knew it was going to be better with Jaden Daniels and a more high-flying offense. And there was such a weird dynamic with the Bucs defense against the Commanders offense, because the whole freaking game, the Commanders would get like 7 yards on first down. And then the Bucs would miraculously get a stop on second down. And it always came down to third down every single time. And most of the time, the Commanders were able to get it. Thank you to Marco Cornacchia for the $1.99 super chat, who says, Bowles, Dean out, Levante done, Cohen head coach, draft defense. Levante, I wouldn't mind coming back if he wants to play. But and again, it comes into ego and status and legacy, first time with Tampa. I'd be fine if Levante platooned next season and played first and second down. Then you got more of a pass-stopping linebacker, a.k.a. Servassier Dennis, on third down. Because I still think Levante has something in the tank. I just don't know if he needs to be playing 100% of the snaps. And then as far as the draft goes, I mean, last year it was not all, but mostly offense. This year, draft all defense. I don't care. Maybe one wide receiver and then just all defense. Sign me up.
Well, and, we're going to be at the Senior Bowl in 2 weeks, folks, and you're going to want to join us. We're going to have live podcasts from Mobile, Alabama. This team does draft a lot of Senior Bowl talent. Certainly have over the last couple of years. It has really helped to build this Buccaneer team. And this is what they're saying. This is one of the most stacked Senior Bowls in recent memory in terms of NFL talent. First round, second round talent. This is going to be a really good group. There are pass rushers galore. There are cover corners galore. So stay tuned to Pewter Report TV on YouTube and pewterreport.com, the website. We're going to have plenty of reporting from Mobile. The entire gang is coming. We got Matt Matera, myself, Josh Capo, Adam Slavon, Bailey Adams. Hell, we're even taking our intern, Isaiah Delgado, to Mobile, along with my brother Jeff Jones, to take some pictures. So it's going to be one hell of a time in Mobile, and we're going to be all over that. And we'll have the latest in terms of last year, Matt. We were there looking for an offensive coordinator for these Buccaneers, right? Jace Light hasn't been in the Senior Bowl in years because he's been too busy trying to find offensive coordinators. I think they got one at Liam Cohen if they can keep him. We'll see what happens, but there are going to be some changes, I think, on this defensive coaching staff. I would be shocked if Jason Light and the Glazers let Todd Bowles bring back this same defensive coaching staff. It's got a bunch of guys that I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I mean, George Edwards has got to go. Kevin Ross has got to go. They've got to make some changes here and get younger, smarter, better, more collaborative, whatever. They got to do better on the defensive side for sure.
Yeah, just new ideas, I think, it's certainly at the top of it. Randy Douglas, thanks for the $13.99 super chat, who says, thanks for another great season of coverage, Pewter Report, Matt and Scott specifically. Always a pleasure. I sure hope the roller coaster ride ends here. Well, Randy, thank you so much for the kind words. Bucs certainly are a roller coaster, but glad that we could bring you entertainment throughout the year. But again, it's the podcast isn't ending, just the Bucs season. So. But thank you so much. We really appreciate those words, and glad we can have some fun. Daniel Foster, thanks for the $4.99 super chat. Hey guys, long-time listener, but first time tuning in live. Turned 30 today, and it ended on a Bucs loss.
Happy
birthday! #Fire Bowls. Well, Daniel, hope you had a happy birthday outside of the Bucs loss. You do share a birthday with Rashad White, so that's pretty cool. And happy birthday. Hopefully, the Bucs will bring you more joy for your birthday next year if they're in the playoff run again. But thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. By the way, Rashad White was on kickoffs today, which he hadn't done all season long. I thought that was odd. And then they apparently just don't want to run the football with him anymore. He's very valuable as a receiver and pass blocking, but once again, really not looking his way at all.
Yeah.
Kenneth Mobley, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. We appreciate you. Daniel Thurgood, $4.99, thank you, says both sides struggled under the brightest of lights tonight when it mattered. Rare night of the offense not clicking. Big changes needed on the defensive side of the ball. And I think the Bucs offense not clicking is because they could never get that rhythm because it was a chilly night. And when you're sitting on the bench for 7 minutes at a time, it's tough to, stay as locked in as you can when you're getting the ball every 5 plays.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. For sure. I do want to go ahead this super chat here, and then I'll share something with you guys.
Yeah. Jacob Wolfskiel, thank you for the $9.99 super chat, says Bowles is an okay head coach, but his defense is outdated. Yeah, I just think it's the bells and whistles that have worked in previous years are caught up by now. Teams see it on tape. They see the outside linebackers dropping back. They know who's coming to blitz. It's not exactly throwing the kitchen sink like it used to be.
Yeah, that's right. And too much soft coverage on the outside. The middle has been open. I think the Bucs did a reasonably well job against that. We did see the Diambi on the crosser on that 3rd and 6. That was big. Zach Ertz also had a big catch today. So they've got to do some things schematically to make some changes. Just like when it comes to hurricane season, you need to make some changes, right? I mean, if you're a longtime listener to the Pewter Report podcast, you probably remember our dear friend, the late, great Mark Cook, a Pewter Report legend, talking about Briar Greaves Insurance. Well, I've been a Briar Greaves customer for years now at Mark's insistence. And there simply is not a better insurance company in the Tampa Bay area. I want you to visit briargreavesinsurance.com to see for yourself. Briar Greaves Insurance is family owned, and their main goal is helping people find the right insurance policy for you and your family, whether it's home or auto, boating insurance, or business insurance, commercial insurance. Turn to Briar Greaves to find out why their personal touch and customer service sets them apart. We're in such a day and an age where I think personal touch and relationships matter, and I think it's coming back. And I think that's great to see. And it's never been gone with a place like Briar Greaves. The days of waiting on hold to speak to an insurance representative that you don't even know are over. With Briar Greaves Insurance, you'll have the relationship with your agent who can answer your questions, return your calls, take your calls, advise you on the best policies, and you can get to know them. As 2 recent hurricanes have shown all of us that live in the Tampa Bay area, there is a cost of living in paradise. Briar Greaves can help you make sure that you have the right hurricane and flood insurance. And that makes sure that you and your home are protected. It's not just about homeowners. You have to have flood insurance if you're in certain flood zones. Otherwise, you're not going to be fully covered. So give Briar Greaves a call and make sure that you are, or visit briargreavesinsurance.com. That's Briar, B-R-I-E-R, Greaves, G-I-E-V-E-S, or call their office tomorrow on Monday, 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166. And tell them that Pewter Report sent you. Folks, you're not going to be disappointed with the type of coverage and care that you're going to get at Briar Greaves. They're a difference maker when it comes to insurance companies.
Meets McGee with the $2 super chat, thank you, says, is this the ceiling for Todd Bowles? Well, I guess not, because they made it to the second round last year. I still think this team could get to an NFC championship game. Like, is it Todd Bowles' fault that there was a fumble on a jet sweep? I don't know. That's not Todd Bowles' fault. Everything on the defense, sure, you can make that claim. You could say, why not try anything different than Josh Hayes at corner? I still think there's a little bit more that Todd Bowles can do. Does that mean you want to bring him back next season? No, but he's better than just, one and done in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure.
Michael, thanks for the $4.99 super chat, says, what the F was with the jet sweep fumble? Also, Bowles' era couldn't have ended any differently. Bad defense, bad clock management, not going for it on 4th is brutal. So to push back a little bit, Michael, and I appreciate the the super chat. They've ran jet sweeps all season long.
Yeah.
Like, this wasn't
Agreed.
like a risky play or something like that. It was
Right.
just a bad play, bad timing. Baker took the blame for it. The
Yeah.
fourth down, not going for it. We kind of already talked about that. The clock management was very weird at the end. And I don't necessarily blame
Matt.
Bowles.
It was weird at the
Go ahead.
end of both halves, right? To your point, at the end of the game it was, but also too, they kind of got bailed out because Todd Bowles let 10 seconds run off the clock. Should have called timeout. Thankfully, they had the Mike Evans touchdown there, but certainly at the end of the game too, right?
Yeah, well, the one right before Mike's touchdown, I don't know, because we got on Bowles' case for calling a timeout too early in Dallas a couple of weeks ago, and then the Cowboys went and scored. So I think if you would have called a timeout with maybe 25 seconds versus 16, that would have been better, but they scored anyway, so that was fine.
Yeah.
At the end, I get if you don't want to call a timeout, like when Eckler made the play past Yaya to get the first down, but then to not call it on second down or whatever it was because you allowed the 8-yard play, the game's done right then and there anyway. Like, you could have saved so much more time on third down anyway, but I don't know. Bowles has always had an issue with clock management. Nick Huber, thank you for the $1.99 super chat, says, would teams trade for Jamel Dean with that contract?
I don't know. I mean, they lucked out that Detroit did last year with Carlton Davis in a very similar contract. I think Carlton's a slightly better player than Jamel Dean too, and so that helped in getting some draft capital back and ponying up for the trade. I don't know about Jamel Dean in that contract. I don't. Jamel he's not that good. He can't stay healthy, can't be counted on to make plays. You'd like to see him make a play on that fourth down, right?
He's a starting caliber player, but he's not worth the contract that he's getting.
And I apologize. I said fourth down. I meant on the Terry McLaurin diving catch. Right? He's right there, but
gotcha.
Yeah.
We have two $1.99 super chats from Marlon Williams. Thank you, Marlon, who says, Baker not the guy, best QB wins, and follows that up with Baker's trash, don't get your hopes up. Appreciate the super chat, Marlon, but respectfully disagree. Baker had 4,500 passing yards this year, 41 touchdowns, second all-time in single-season touchdown passes. Not his best game tonight, but also he was 15 of 18. He had 2 touchdown passes, no interceptions. The fumble was more of a freak thing than just a bad play by Baker Mayfield. So I have the full and utmost confidence in Baker Mayfield going into next season.
Yeah, I agree.
Jacob Wolfskiel, thank you for the $4.99 super chat, who says, if it's not on Bowles, then it's on Light and his defensive scouts. I mean, Antoine Winfield Jr. got hurt for a majority of the season. I know injuries aren't an excuse. Every team gets hurt. They planned for the backups. If you want to say, like, maybe you could have gone better with building out your inside linebacker room, yeah, maybe, sure. But, I mean, who saw Yaya Diaby at outside linebacker taking a step back? Chris Braswell didn't work out. I don't know if there's, like, a ton of blame to go for Jason Light.
I think part of it, too, is like, Todd Bowles and George Edwards, they hung on to the pipe dream that Joe Tryon-Shoyinka was this chess piece, that he was this guy, and he clearly is not. He's not coming back, right? And yet he played so much of the season that it stunted the growth of Chris Braswell, to an extent. And we'll see. Maybe Chris Braswell becomes somebody. Maybe he doesn't. I just don't know. But to me, they need a pass rusher, right? I mean, Jason Light, that's kind of been the Achilles heel. We've said that the running back room was, all those running back picks that didn't pan out. They finally have panned out. Bucky Irving was a huge hit, right? Sean Tucker's been a diamond in the rough. Rashad White is a capable third down back. So the running back room is good now. Now it's just, you look back at Noah Spence, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, Yaya Diaby did up to expectations this year in terms of being that dominant pass rusher that you could count on to get sacks on third down, and had one tonight that was taken away due to a kind of a ticky-tack penalty on Zion McCollum.
Yeah.
Arrow's pointing up there, but he needs better coaching. Chris Braswell needs better coaching. They need to be able to level up. And so that's the thing. It's just, and I think in the meantime, you're waiting for these guys to step up and develop. Same thing with Zion McCollum. Like, yeah, he leveled up a little bit, but he's not a Pro Bowler, right? You need some veterans that are already established, that have been there and done that can get to the quarterback, can get interceptions, things like that, to supplement this roster, right? It wasn't rookie outside linebackers that were winning the Super Bowl for this team. It was veterans. Jason Pierre-Paul, a proven veteran that Jason Light traded for. Shaq Barrett, who, was a bit of a diamond in the rough, but holy smokes, man, did they hit on him in a free agency. So,
Yeah, it goes in several ways for sure. Gabriel Kelber, thank you for the $1.99 super chat, says, SR, best percentage guess that Todd is fired.
Something tells me 50-50. I'm just going back. This is my 30th year doing this now. And this team fired very popular head coaches in Tony Dungy and John Gruden.
Yeah.
And they fired Tony Dungy after 3 straight playoff appearances because they felt like he couldn't take this team to the next level. And they made a trade to get John Gruden. A trade. They traded first and second round picks and sent Al Davis a crap ton of cash, money. Okay?
Yeah.
And then they get a guy who wins the Super Bowl, wins a total of 3 NFC South championships, and then at the end was 9-3, loses the last 4 games. They don't make the playoffs at 9-7 back in 2008. And he gets fired 17 days after the season, just after he and general manager Bruce Allen signed massive contract extensions that year, that offseason. So I'm just saying, like, anything goes with the Blazers, man. I've seen it all. So to sit here and say, oh, there's no way Todd Bowles gets fired, like, you haven't been paying attention. This team wants to win. The Blazers want to win. And this team has successfully transitioned, Matt and Pewter people, from an older Super Bowl caliber team, right? 2020, 2021, 2022. All of a sudden, they got young in 2023, and they still won, still made the playoffs, right? You found that the handoff quarterback from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield, right? You hit on a bunch of draft picks. You got a young core nucleus of guys, Tristan Wirfs, Winfield, Bucky Irving now, Yaya Diaby, Kalijah Kancey. You've got some really good pieces here that can help catapult your team to the next level, but you need some free agents now. So now is the time to open up the checkbook. And do you trust Todd Bowles with the checkbook, or do you want that to be in another coach that maybe has an edge,
This team is in a better spot now than it has been after the last 3 seasons. So I think that's important to keep in mind. Marlon Williams, thanks for the $9.99 super chat. Still bashing Baker Mayfield, but that's fine. If you want to super chat us, we will get to your comments. Says, talk about Baker, mediocre, taking off for no reason. Early in the game, there was one time where he ran too early. And I think maybe he saw a hole, and he figured if I could just get through the defensive tackle, then we'll get a first down. But then the defensive tackle was able to get him. Outside of that, again, 15 of 18, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. Let's remember Jalen McMillan had a drop that was very costly, so he probably should have been 16 of 18. You want to get on his case for the fumble? Sure, fine, absolutely. No argument there. Baker wasn't the reason. Outside of the fumble, Baker wasn't the reason that they lost. He's been great this season. I think he's going to be great next year, too.
Yeah, I agree.
Bucs Basement, thanks for the $5 super chat. Pretty obvious what needs to be done. Bowles is not winning this team a championship. He has horrible game management and never has his team ready.
I think the team was ready. They just didn't execute. And we saw the clock management issues rear their ugly head again. And that's not a good look in your last game to have something that's been an issue, not just this year, but going back to, what was it, Matt, 2022, right? I mean, that Cleveland Browns game should never have gone to overtime, right? They didn't allow Tom Brady to have a chance to go down the field and maybe kick a field goal. They lost that game. So this has kind of been a little bit of a recurring theme here in bowls. You can point back to a couple of games each year, 2022, 2023, 2024. The clock management has suffered here in Tampa. And I can't remember it suffering like that under even Dirk Cutter or Bruce Arians or John Gruden, or I try to forget like the Lovie Smith years and the Greg Schiano years. Maybe it happened then. And
they were never in a spot to do time management because they were losing every game.
True. Yeah. Good point. But just not a good look. Not a good look to end the game and end the season the way it happened. Defense couldn't get off the field, couldn't get a stop, couldn't take the ball away. The clock management issues. It's just not a good final appearance for Todd Bowles in this season. We'll see what happens.
No, it's not. Marlon Williams said, and thank you for the $1.99 super chat, says Baker made the mistakes. He messed up the fumble. I don't think the snap is on him. But, yeah, he messed up the fumble. There's no doubt the one turnover was on Baker Mayfield. He took the blame for it as well. Does that mean they move on from Baker Mayfield? No, it doesn't. And they couldn't anyway because it's a big contract.
Yeah.
Michael Kraft, thank you for the $9.99 super chat, says, echo others, you guys rock. Architect our defensive overhaul, players and staff, LFG Bucs, and Pewter Report. Well, thank you, Michael, for the kind
Thanks,
words.
Michael. Appreciate that.
You rock, too.
And listen, hey, thanks to you guys. It's 1:00 here Eastern time after a tough playoff loss. We're all here talking about it, venting about it, answering questions, giving our opinions, sitting here reading the chat. We'd love to go for 3 hours and put more people in here outside of the super chatters. I'm reading, looking at these. You guys have great comments. There's a lot of good conversation, a little bit of back and forth here between some of y'all, but it's just great. I mean, you guys have built this community here on Pewter Report TV with our podcasts. The Monday shows with Roll Call are great, but you guys bring it every podcast that we do. Pewter pregame, Pewter game day, the postgame podcast, just the regular podcast or preview podcast during the week. Just keep bringing it during the off season because this is fun. We love interacting with you guys. It literally is the best hour of my day. I can't wait to get on and chat with Matt and you guys. Or if I'm hosting with somebody else, I'm sure Matt's the same way with Adam and all of that. It's just so much fun to have this community and, to see the passion you guys have about this. And as I've told all of our Pewter reporters, that I've kind of brought up through the ranks here, it's our responsibility and our obligation and our privilege to be your eyes and ears into this organization, from our sources, our on and off the record conversations, our analysis, what we see, our takes from reading between the lines in press conferences and interviews. It's all of that. So we're happy to serve you. This is your show. We're just the hosts of it. You guys are really the star of the show with your comments and questions. And we're privileged to be in a position where we can provide our answers and opinions.
I could not agree more. I enjoy doing this. I don't care if it's 1 a.m. or 1 p.m.
That's right.
Or 4 p.m. It's
yeah.
You guys make it. You guys make the show what it is, and it's as you said.
We literally have thousands of people right now. And obviously some of you guys are central and yeah. I mean it's fantastic. So just hats off to you guys. Really appreciate it.
Yes. Samuel Fisher, thanks for the $5. Says Bowles had that performance with the GOAT and future Bucs quarterback after Baker in the building. Rocco and Anthony Becht, that's a fireable offense on its own.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is Samuel Fisher is my Iowa State chum in the Big 12. I'm a big Rocco Becht fan. He's the Iowa State quarterback. Obviously, Anthony Becht is the head coach of the St. Louis Battlehawks and was a former Buccaneer tight end as well. That's Anthony's son is Rocco. And yeah, it'd be something to cover Rocco Becht. Maybe he is the heir apparent to Baker Mayfield in time. I think Rocco probably has another year or two left at Iowa State, him being a sophomore this year, I believe. Sophomore or junior. I don't know. I coached him at Pop Warner a long time ago, but he's having a hell of a career at Iowa State. And we'll see what happens. But boy, it'd be fun to cover a kid that I coached right here in in the Tampa Bay area back in the Pop Warner days. That would be something else.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Bart Hartley Jarvis, thanks for the $5. As Bart says, feel bad for Baker. Have to get your QB more than 7 possessions. Bowles era needs to die so Cohen era can live. Thanks for a great season, guys. Yeah, that's why football's the best. Thank you. That's why football's the best ultimate team game. Complimentary football. The Bucs did not have it tonight.
Yeah,
on either side.
Yeah, and we talked about all year long the inability to get takeaways. That's been a problem, right, on defense, is not being able to take the ball away. When your offense gives it up, defense has the obligation to get that turnover ratio back to 0 or flip it and be +1 for a change, right? Actually get more takeaways than you have giveaways, and that rarely happened this year.
And again, to go back to the other playoff games this weekend, I mean, there was 1,000 turnovers in the Texans-Chargers game. The Eagles had 3 interceptions on Jordan Love.
Yep.
Those were big moments, whether or not you capitalized on it or not. David Van Dum, thanks for the $4.99 super chat. Defense can only do so much. Never thought it'd be the offense letting us down when we needed them. Thanks for another great year, Pewter Report. Well, thanks for the kind words.
Appreciate it, David. Thank you.
I mean, the expectation level is higher for the Bucs offense. There's no doubt about it. But I think what it comes down to is the offense isn't allowed to have a bad performance because the defense has a bad performance pretty much every single week. Yeah. So sure, you can say the offense let them down, but the offense also won them a majority, almost every single game this season. Like, it shouldn't be to the point where it's like, okay, the Bucs just have to blink and they'll score 30 points. That's not fair to the offense.
Yeah.
And it was very much one-sided this season.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Matt. From week 1, this offense wore the superhero cape every single week, right? I mean, go back to week 1, you can sit there and say, oh, well, they held the Commanders to 20 points. The Commanders missed 3 field goals. Remember, Cade York got fired after week 1. If anything, you tack on 9 more points, and week 1 is 37-29. Okay. So yeah, I'm with you, Matt. I think that was extremely well said, what you just said, which is,
thank you.
The offense can't have a bad night. At some point in time, you got to win games 20-17 or 20-14, right? But that didn't happen. The expectation was the offense has to win every game by itself, and hopefully the defense, doesn't screw it up. But tonight, the offense needed some help, and the defense was nowhere to be found.
Todd Bowles has talked about this season how the offense can win in different ways, but he never talked about how the defense can help out too.
Yep.
Slay 509, thanks for the $1.99, says fire Bowles. Intricate blitzes mean 0 with soft coverage. So Bowles blitzed a good amount, but I would have to go back and watch and chart it and everything, even though Josh Capo mostly does the charting. I feel like there was a number of times they got to that 3rd down situation, and then he didn't blitz. And I don't know if that was because, I don't know, to give a different look and stuff like that, where I almost feel like you just stay aggressive and you force Jaden Daniels to make a quick decision and see what happens there. So that I would have liked to see different. And the middle of the field was the killer for the Bucs again, as it's been all season.
Yeah. I called 2 plays from the press box. And you can ask Adam Slavon and Bailey Adams, who was sitting right next to me. On 4th down, when Terry McLaurin was lined up against Josh Hayes on the outside, and I just said, they're targeting Hayes right here. The ball's going to McLaurin. And it was just a step too late, and Josh Hayes gave up the touchdown. That was easy. And then a really key critical 3rd down where De'Ami Brown was lined up outside on Josh Hayes. And it's 3rd and 6, and I just said they're going to De'Ami Brown right here. I mean, Brown on Hayes, this is the play, and that's exactly what it was, the crosser across the middle. That was really the best opportunity they had outside of the Kalijah Kancey, stop that was missed on 4th down. That was really the best opportunity that I thought that they had down the stretch. And, it stinks that Jamel Dean was out. And Bryce Hall, who you said earlier, Matt, was supposed to be their veteran backup cornerback. He's been out since week 1. Hubbard was just kind of buried cornerback, unfortunately.
Marlon Williams, thank you for the $9.90 super chat. Says defense played a great game. Baker turnover. Well, the defense allowed a 92-yard touchdown drive.
Yeah.
Where De'Ami Brown was not just open, he was wide open.
Wide open.
Like anyone in that stadium could have made that catch.
Yeah.
Throwing the ball to him.
Yeah. But Marlon,
let's see what else.
I got some stats for you, Marlon. I'm just gonna take over your back because I'm a defensive aficionado, and this was not a good defensive game whatsoever. Okay. Dan Quinn left points out there by going for it on 4th down a couple of times when he should have kicked field goals. This should not have been a 3-point game. This should have been a 9-point lead by the Commanders, and it, quite frankly, they left some points out there on the field. When you are 3 of 5, which is 60% on 4th down, you're not a good defense. When you are 8 of 15, which is 53.3% on 3rd down, you're not a good defense. When you have 0 takeaways, you're not a good defense. When you have 1 sack on the night, you're not a good defense. When you allow 69 plays on offense and an 11-minute time of possession advantage, you're not a good defense. So I'm sorry, Marlon. Appreciate the super chats. I do. I know you're anti-Baker Mayfield. We get it. Thank you for your support. You're welcome to comment here. You're welcome to super chat us. You're welcome to stay. We respectfully disagree. I don't think there's any measure where you can say the defense played great tonight. I don't even think you can say they played good tonight. I think you could say this defense played average on a night when the offense was also average. And therefore, an average offense and an average defense was an average performance tonight, and a slightly above average Washington team won as a result.
The fact that they didn't force 1 punt in the game, I think, speaks a lot.
Exactly. Yep.
FBC, thanks for the $5. Offense has carried this team all season. This was the game where the offense should have been able to tell the defense, hey, we effed up. Please get us a stop. Yeah, I have no doubt in my mind if the Bucs defense was somehow, by the grace of God, either able to get a stop and force a punt on that last drive when Washington got up with 4:41 left, or force them to kick a field goal with still, let's just say, like a minute 15 or something like that. I have no doubt the Bucs are able to drive down the field and either tie it back up or go into overtime. But they never got a chance to get the ball back because the defense couldn't get a stop.
Yeah, I agree.
O2RR, thanks for the $9.99, says, tough loss, but still glad to have made the Bucs my new NFL team, as I've been through nothing but disappointment with 3 different teams. Thank you all for welcoming me as part of the crew. Go Bucs. Yeah, we're very happy to have you.
Awesome.
And as we said earlier, right now sucks. It's a tough loss, no other way to put it. But the Bucs are in a really good spot. They have a high-flying offense.
Yep.
Everybody's coming back. Scott has guaranteed Chris Godwin's coming back.
I'm
They need to figure out some stuff on defense.
Yep.
But in today's day and age, at least for the regular season, you can get by with an average defense if you have a really good offense. And that's what Tampa Bay has, is a really good offense.
Yeah, you know, the other thing too, Matt, is the Buccaneers this past year, they played the top 4 teams from last year, right? And they went 1-3 in those games. They beat the Lions up there in Detroit. They lost to the 49ers. They lost to the Ravens, lost to the Chiefs. This team only has 1 playoff team coming to Tampa Bay next year. That's the Eagles. That's it. This is going to be a team next year that only is going to play 5 playoff teams. So this is a schedule that whoever the head coach is, it's going to be favorable. You have a Super Bowl ready offense coming back. They need to tune some things up on the defensive side for sure. But I'm with you, Matt. And we've said all along, we were in unison at Pewter Report. First time ever doing this. We all said 10-7. This was a 10-7 team. None of us said Super Bowl. We all believe that the Super Bowl window really, truly opens next year. It was open this year by virtue of them making the playoffs. Get in and anything can happen. But next year is the year 2025, actually this year, now that the season's over. This year is, I believe, the season where you're going to see this team really push the chips all in, open up the checkbook, make some more moves, and really position themselves to do some damage in the NFC.
Shout out to the AFC East for giving the Bucs an easier schedule this upcoming season.
Yeah.
David Van Dunn, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Says, we seem to forget all the good moments Todd gave us. It's disgusting to see all the hate he gets even after a poor Cohen offense tonight. Thanks, Coach. I think that's really fair, David. You know, Todd Bowles does deserve credit for certain things. I mean, obviously, always backing his guys, not throwing people under the bus. getting this team through some tough moments where they lost several games in a row.
Yeah.
Overall, Todd's a good person, and yes, they did improve season in and season out. So it's not like he brings nothing to the table. And I think him having a calm demeanor probably is helpful in certain moments as well. So
he's
not the worst coach in the league by any means.
Great role model, has great players on this team, very well respected guy. The players love playing for him. And there's no division in the locker room. He won't stand for it. And I think that's one of his best traits. He has now authored 2 kind of turnarounds at the end of the season. He's kept the team together. I think that's definitely worthy of praise.
Tall Florida guy, thanks for the $4.99. Bucs remind me of the Steelers every year, just mediocre and quick exits from the playoffs. I don't know if you could say that just yet because the Steelers haven't won a playoff game. They go every year, but they haven't won a playoff game in like 8 years, maybe even 10 years. The Bucs went Super Bowl in 2020, second round 2021, one and done the next year, then lost to Detroit last season, and then they went one and done this year. So I don't think you can put the Steelers in that category just yet because also the Steelers, like yesterday, a couple seasons ago too, they just look helpless and hopeless when they're playing. I don't get that sense with the Bucs.
I agree. I just think this team needs a little bit more of an edge, right? John Gruden had an edge, Bruce Arians had an edge. I think that's the thing is this team needs a little bit more of an edge about them.
Bucs Basement, thanks for the $5. If I'm the Glazers, I ask Bowles how he's going to improve his third down and fourth down defense, his time management skills, and his broken communication in year 6. The communication is big.
Yeah. Well, and not just that, you can ask him all you want, but do you believe it? Do you believe that he has the answers? That's the thing is, again, Tony Dungy turned this franchise around. He was fired after 3 straight playoff years. John Gruden won a Super Bowl, including 3 NFC South championships, and was fired after going 9-7 in his final season. The Glazers have high expectations, right? And I'm not sure that Todd Bowles has met those expectations this year.
Yeah. Only the Glazers can really decide. Thank you to FBC for this $20 super chat, who says, don't want to hear about injuries when injured reserve riddled Lions defense is fighting and the Vikings defense of nobody's is balling. We have Vita, Cansey, Yaya, Winfield, Zion, Tyke, Dean. I know. Levante. So many teams are doing more with less. It's a really good point. That's why Aaron Glenn, the Lions defensive coordinator, is getting head coaching opportunities and interviews and stuff like that. It's a good point. The Bucs aren't the only team that's dealt with injuries this year.
Yeah, for sure.
Robert Cross, thanks for the $5. Wasn't Cohen's best game. This game was there to be won. Just didn't execute well enough. Defense needs total talent upgrade in linebacker and cornerback.
They do. They got to find some new linebackers. Servacio Dennis might be one of those guys. We'll see if Levante David returns. It might be his last game in red and pewter. If it is, it sucks to go out like that, but he also played his heart out. He had a great game tonight. I shared a moment with Levante after the game, and he doesn't know what his future holds. It's too early to think about that. And, it's also, too, is who's going to be the head coach? Is it going to be Todd Bowles? Levante might want to come back if it's Todd Bowles. He has that history with him. If it's somebody else, maybe not. Maybe he hangs it up. Maybe somebody looks at this and says, we want youth and speed at linebacker, and a 35-year-old linebacker is not in our plans. There's two free agency is a 2-lane road, right? It's not just a one-way street. So we'll see what happens.
If this was his last game, what a run, and just absolutely went out balling. So shout out to Levante. Tyson C, thank you for the $9.99. So is Todd Bowles officially done, or do we have to deal with this weak defense for another season?
I hope not. Defense was rough watching this year. The soft coverage, the middle of the field was there for the taking. No takeaways, 7 interceptions the entire year. And how many times do we hear Kevin Ross say, I want my guys catching 50 balls a day? Man, 50 balls a day wasn't enough at all. So Yeah, it was just terrible at times by this defense. Just knowing, again, the end of the 49ers game, the end of this game, we just knew this team was not going to get a stop. We could see the writing on the wall. When it was tied up, 4 minutes left, Commander's going to drive down and kick a field goal to win. That's exactly what happened. It was very predictable, unfortunately.
And this is a team that, like, had a lot of leads throughout the season. And, like, you're a little more inclined to get interceptions then because, teams are going to have to win stuff.
That's right. That's right.
Trey Cloutier, thank you for the $4.99 super chat, says, was it just me or were the refs absolutely atrocious tonight?
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple bad calls. I don't know. There's been some bad calls in the playoffs that I've seen so far. And, there's one today in the Bills game, right, where it was an egregious hold that wasn't called on the Broncos. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I remember a couple calls that weren't really good, but I'm not a huge fan of officiating to begin with. I don't think these guys as a whole do a really good job.
I thought we were off to a good start. There weren't many penalties, and then once the first flag was
thrown,
it kind of opened the floodgates. So it was a little annoying. Derek Benvey, thanks for the $5 super chat. I'd fire Bowles, but players got to make plays too. Cansey missed some big ones, and instead of tackles for loss, they gained yards.
Yep.
The tackling by the Bucs was pretty bad tonight.
Yeah.
There were a lot of plays that they had snuffed out, a lot of swing passes and screens to the outside. The Bucs had the numbers, and then just what could have been a -1 loss ended up into a 4-yard gain. It was very, very odd with that circumstance, and the Bucs just did not tackle well, in my opinion.
I agree.
Larry Fisherman, thanks for the $4.99 super chat, says, haven't got off the floor since the end. Heartbroken. I think it hurt even more than the fact that there was the doink on the field goal. Because there was oh my God, he missed it. We're going to overtime. And then it just bounced the right way, unfortunately. Timothy Fitzgerald, thanks for the $2. Bucs consistently lose penalty and turnover battles. That's the case when they lose games. And that happened again. Corey Hall, thanks for the $4.99 super chat, says, y'all are going to talk about Todd, but not talk about this offensive coordinator getting too cute in his own territory. How
Listen,
so? They do it all year long.
They've run end arounds all year, whether you're doing it at your own 15-yard line or their 15-yard line or the 50-yard line. I mean, it's an end around. It's a handoff is really all it is. It's a handoff, and they've done it. We've seen Jalen McMillan get him. We've seen Cameron Johnson get him. We've seen, I think, Trey Palmer had one this year.
Sterling Shepard.
Sterling Shepard. We've seen Bucky Irving in the Lions game take some end arounds as well. It was a botched, handoff. It's all it was. I mean, it's, and usually they go for pretty good yardage. I mean, so I don't know. I don't think there was a too risky of a play. It just ended up being a fumble that the defense couldn't overcome and couldn't bail the offense out with a takeaway. And that's the complimentary football is being able to get help each other out, right? And get a stop on third down if you go 3 and out on offense, get a takeaway on defense if you give one up on the other side of the ball, and it just didn't happen, and that's unfortunate.
Tyson C, thanks for the $9.99 super chat. Pewter Report is freaking awesome. I love you guys so much. Thank you for all you do. We love you too, Tyson C. Thank you. Appreciate all your support. You've been a great commenter, and as many of you have.
Yes.
Enjoyed this ride, and looking forward to every single show that we do, including tomorrow at 4 p.m. So.
That's right. You mentioned Sterling Shepard, Matt, and Sterling Shepard on these end arounds, right? And he's had 8 of them this year. 8 for 69 yards. That's an 8.6 yards per carry average. Jalen McMillan has had 4 of these this year for 43 yards. That's 10.8 yards per carry for Jalen McMillan on end arounds. Cameron Johnson's had 2 when he's been healthy for 11 yards. That's 5.5 yards a carry, right? So every time that they've done it, it's usually worked. It just didn't work because the handoff wasn't great. I don't think that's bad play calling. It's just poor execution. And Baker Mayfield took
No,
the
it's
blame
true.
for it. So
He did. FBC, thanks for the $5. Glazers also need to keep in mind how many younger, proven defensive coordinators are available this offseason. A lot of fired defensive head coaches that are good to great DCs. Yeah, of course, Robert Saleh is a name people have been talking about for months now. But since San Francisco has an opening at defensive coordinator, it kind of makes a lot of sense for him to go back to where he was able to get a head coaching job in the first place.
I wouldn't be opposed to see Dennis Allen here, Matt. If they're going to make a change, I mean, he's given the Buccaneers offense fits when they had Tom Brady, right? The 9-0 game,
true.
the 38-3 game. I mean, the New Orleans defense has come to play. Last year, remember? They came in here, they practiced in pads that week, right? Week 17, they had a week of padded practices. That late in the season, they came out here and stomped the Buccaneers 23-0 before Tampa Bay got on the board in the second half. So Dennis Allen, not a great head coach, but hey, I mean, he's had some good defenses. And, they just have some old players now in New Orleans, and they're just not what they used to be. But, I mean, he was the defensive coordinator under Sean Payton, and they won division championships. So he's got head coaching experience. You pair him with Liam Cohen. If this team makes a change, I wouldn't be opposed to Dennis Allen coming here. I think that'd be a good fit.
I think that's a good idea. I like it. Desert Dog 2K, thank you for the $20 super chat. As they say, thanks to SR and Matt and the Pewter Report staff for your coverage this season and every season, especially for those of us not close to Florida. Your Bucs coverage is the best. I wanted more bodega this season, but what can you do? Well, you can hear it on all the Celsius ads that we do.
That's right.
And thank you so much for the kind words, Desert
Thank you
Dog
very much.
2K.
Yeah, that's great.
We definitely want to make this as fun and interactive of a community as possible. And I understand too, when you root for teams outside of like the town that you live in or the city that you live in, sometimes you feel like you're missing out, or you just want that attachment to the group of like the players that you see every day and the games that people are going to. So I can't put myself in everyone's shoes, but I understand where you're coming from for a little bit. So glad to have you aboard for all these shows day in and day out.
For sure. Greatly appreciate it.
Florida boy in Atlanta, thanks for the $4.99 super chat, who says NFC South champs over the Falcons is still nice.
Yep.
Let's freaking go in 2025. Go Baker and go Pewter Report.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind words.
Yep.
Dirk Disco, keeping disco alive. Thanks for the $5 super chat. Says, is it likely we hire a defensive coordinator like Robert Saleh? I just don't think Saleh, because he's got a great connection with the Packers. He was on their sideline today. He's close with the LaFleurs. And then, of course, if San Fran wants him back, kind of a no-brainer for him to go back to San Fran.
I agree.
Michael with the $4.99 super chat, thank you, says, Baker's an absolute stud. He can only get better with a second year with Cohen and Godwin for a full year. Also, you guys are the best coverage of the Bucs. Thank you. And man, Chris Godwin for a full 17-game season, mean, Baker may throw for 5,000 yards.
No, that's a fact. Yep.
Virgin Boys, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. We wouldn't need a midseason turnaround if he were a better head coach or defensive coordinator. That is another example of like the do's and don'ts, the positives and negatives if you're making a list about Todd Bowles.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin O'Connell didn't need a midseason turnaround, right? Dan Campbell didn't need a midseason turnaround. Andy Reid didn't need a midseason turnaround. Nick Sirianni didn't need a midseason turnaround this year. So there's plenty of teams that are upper echelon teams. John Harbaugh didn't need a midseason turnaround. Same with Sean McDermott up in Buffalo. If you're a good team, you're a good team all year long. And the Buccaneers weren't a good team all year long. They got better at the end because they had to get to where they were tonight, which was a wild card home playoff game, which Todd Bowles now has unfortunately 1-2 in these games over the last 3 years. And we'll see what type of effect that has on his job security here in Tampa. And we'll see how quickly this team makes a decision whether to stick with Bowles or not. We shall see. We have a couple more super chats to get to, and we'll wind things down because it's going on 1:30 here Eastern time. Greatly appreciate y'all staying up with us. This is awesome.
Yeah.
If I wasn't at the stadium, if I was home, I'd say let's just do this for another hour, but they're probably going to kick me out here pretty soon, or I get to spend the night here locked up in the stadium, one or the other. But just real quick, I wanted to let everybody know we're so close to 17,000 subscribers. You guys have just blessed us with so many subscribers on this channel, the Pewter Report TV YouTube channel. So please hit the subscribe button. It's free and just gets us closer to 17,000. And we greatly appreciate that. I think we're going to hit that the next couple of weeks. Love to hit it by the Senior Bowl. So we're literally about 120 away. So if you have not subscribed to Pewter Report TV, hit the subscribe button. Also, click notifications whenever we come up with a Pewter Pulse video, any of our Pewter Report podcasts, whenever they go live, you're going to get a notification. You can check out our content at that time here on Pewter Report TV. And one thing real quick, if you want to support our efforts here at Pewter Report TV, you can do so by becoming a Pewter Report TV channel member. There are lots of different membership levels. I'm not going to go through all of them right now because it's getting a little late, but you can hit the join button to have all of this information presented to you. Everything from $3.99 a month to $24.99 a month for our Pewter Platinum members. Greatly appreciate all the support that you guys give us with your monthly contributions. Helps fund this site, helps fund our staff. We greatly appreciate it. Everything we do is for you. So look at this as an investment into your own Buccaneer coverage that you are helping to provide with your generosity. And we greatly appreciate it. Again, you can go to Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel, and click on the join button. And that will give you all of those options. Find the one that fits your budget and your level of giving. And we greatly appreciate it.
Moving on to King HL and GSHD. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat. It says, with McMillan stepping up, would it make more sense for Light to spend money on a bona fide pass rusher or a cover cornerback instead of re-signing Chris Godwin?
How about all three?
Ooh.
How about all three?
Yeah, why not?
This offense needs to continue to score 30 points per game. That's why they're in this position, not because of the defense. They're in this position as the NFC South champions and in the wild card because of their offense. You don't want to detract from that side of the ball. You want to just amplify both sides of the ball, offense and defense. So re-sign Chris Godwin. He really is the only big free agent that you have on this team in terms of money. Levante David is the big free agent on defense in name, but he's not going to make nearly as much as Chris Godwin. Didn't make it this year at about $8 million a year. But yeah, you do need a cover corner to pair with Zion McCollum. You do need another pass rusher, a bona fide pass rusher, as you say. Bring Godwin back too. Do it all. Open the checkbook, do the deals, make the trades, draft the players, go all in. Super Bowl window is open now. You still have Mike. You still have Baker Mayfield. He'll be 30 in the offseason, still in his prime. Now's the time. Make it happen.
Yes, exactly. This is the time to do it. What are you going to do? When Baker's contract is up and Mike Evans retires? Right. No.
Exactly.
So, yeah, have to do it now. Corey Hall, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Says, I disagree. This goes to the conversation we were talking about before about the jet sweep to McMillan. A better call would be a pop pass because if he fumbles the ball, it would be an incomplete pass. It was a bad call. They haven't really done pop passes this season.
Yeah.
So I get it. Like, it's not a fumble. It's certainly risky.
It's a bad call because it didn't work, right? I mean, if we're being honest, it's a bad call because it was a fumble. If not, I just rattled off all of the averages for everything from 8.5 yards to 10 yards a carry, 5.5 yards. They've had success doing that. It's just they had a fumble at the wrong time, and it cost them.
Cost them their season, or one of the couple plays that cost them their season. So that's it for the Bucs on the 2024 season. Their season ending in 2025 with a wild card round loss to the Washington Commanders. So we'll still have a ton of Bucs coverage content out every single day. The podcast will be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday every single week in the off season. So you can prepare for that. We have a lot more Bucs stuff coming up, the draft, the Senior Bowl, free agency, and more and more and more. So Once again, and yeah, a big question too is the front office. Who's going to be around? Who gets a new head coaching job, as Gabriel accurately puts out. So, yeah, just want to say thanks again to everybody that joined us for the Pewter Game Day show throughout the season. It was a lot of fun. These Pewter post-game shows are great as well.
Yeah.
So please join us as well when we get to the Pewter Report podcast coming up, and we'll have one tomorrow at 4 o'clock. So in the meantime, if you're not already doing so, please make sure you follow us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe on this video. Gabriel says, thanks for a great season, Pewter Report. Thank you all for making it so much fun as well. So that'll do it for us this night / this morning. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everybody for watching. We appreciate each and every one of you. And let's do it all again tomorrow on another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.